So not so long ago I tweeted out that I'm doing another Framer roast session where I'm basically going through your websites and giving my honest feedback and also jumping into the remixes and fixing them. And I got a bunch of sites. In a previous video I went through 6 of them, and in this video we're going to go through more of them. So if you want to see more of these, see me how I fix websites and point out different issues, then this video is for you. My name is Nandi, this is Framer University, and let's get started. So this is the first website that we are looking at. I'm gonna leave a link in the description for each of the websites, so you're gonna find them there. I have a little list here in front of me with all the things that I wanna take a look at on these websites because I already reviewed them and just broke down a couple of things that I want to cover here. So on this specific website, I want to take a look at the navigation because I noticed something interesting with it. Basically, when I open it, you can see that these items come in from the right side. They're just sliding in. But there is a little weird thing, which is that the about text is getting animated in a little bit differently. It is moving in a little bit slowly, or I'm not sure what is happening because the home, work, and contact moves in sync, but the about is slightly out of sync. First of all, I thought this is like a staggered effect where basically the home comes in first, then the about, then the work, and only then the contact. But then I noticed that everything is in sync, only about is out of sync. So let's take a look at the Framer project and see how we can fix something like this. So as you can see, here's the Framer project. And yes, this is a component here on the top bar navigation. So I'm going to click into that and we will be seeing that, okay, it has a bunch of variants and probably we have an issue here on the opened state. So I'm not even sure how these are being animated. Oh yeah, okay, so the visibility is set to hidden, which is not really the case because they are visible. So the links is set to visible no on the desktop closed variant, but here they are nicely visible and they are being animated with the appear effect that are basically here on the right panel. So let me just take a look at the transition setting on each of these. As you can see, the home has 300 stiffness, damping 30 and mass 1. Let's also take a look at the about, appear, enter, transition. And as you can see, it has 399 instead of 300. So probably if we set it to 300, because I guess the work has the same 300, yes, and the contact has the same. So now if we take a look at this, just preview it and click this, you can now see that all of these menu items are moving nicely in sync. And yeah, the about is also coming in nicely. But I think we can take this to the next level by making sure that they have a nice staggered effect. So the top one comes in first, so the home, then the about, then the work, and then the contact. We can do that really easily by adjusting the delay property on these appear effects. So if we click the home and then we go to enter, transition, we can just adjust the delay property. So it is probably going to be, maybe we can just, leave it on 0 for the home. On the about, maybe it can be 0.05, then 0.1 and 0.15. Let's see how that looks. Hopefully we're gonna have a nice staggered effect. And as you can see, this is what we have. A perfect looking little staggered effect on the navigation. And yeah, as you can see, it was a really small issue of just having a different transition setting on a specific element, and that's why it was a little bit out of sync with the rest of the items. So yeah, that's it for this one. Let's move into the next website. Okay, so here we are on the next website, and here I want to talk a little bit more about the visuals and not the technical parts of the website. First, what I notice when I land on the site is that here within the hero section, we just have a bunch of text layers, and each have a different color. They also have different sizes. So probably this is one size. This is also different size. I think this is also different size. And also the colors are different. So it is just all over the place. Usually it is, better to just maybe use one font size for the title, main title, and then one for the subtitle, also one color for this, another color for this one. But here we just have this little thing here. Maybe the best is if we just remove that. So that is one thing, and then also we could maybe add VH for this hero section, so it is adapting nicely to the viewport height. In this case, I'm using a little bit bigger monitor, so I can already see this section right here, which is not a bad thing in general. But if we take a look at this on a larger device, you can see that we literally can see the full website right here. So that's what we can use VH for. And then I'm gonna also show you just an example of how these cards can be simplified and just adjusted slightly to make them look a little bit better. So yeah, let's jump into the Framer project and take a look at this. So probably again, as I said, I would just remove these two text layers here just to make this hero section a little bit more, I don't know, minimalistic or just cleaner. And yeah, to implement that VH, I think I'm gonna have to set the hero container or the hero section here on the left panel to height viewport, and we don't have to set it to 100 VH because then we will not see this section below, but we can set it to a little bit smaller value, maybe 90, and now we can see that there is indeed another section, the about me, but it will not get too much into our face, and we can focus on the main message that we have in the hero section. And probably we can also have a little bit more space between these items. And also what I notice now is that this is a little bit cutting off as it is moving in, so animating in. It is because it has a parent section or a parent frame, which is this hero container, and it has overflow on hidden. So when it is animated from the bottom to the top, it is getting it is being cut off. I don't know where is the appear effect. It is right here. So you can see that this offset is moving the button a little bit downwards right here, and this will result in overflowing this parent container, which has overflow hidden. So quick fix, just setting it to overflow visible. So now you can see that it comes in, but I forgot to set the appear effect back to opacity 0, so it comes in from 0 opacity. Sorry for that, but now that was just again a small thing that I noticed here. Sorry for that. Let's go to the next thing that I wanted to talk about here, and these cards right here. So you use this like gradient on most parts of the website for these FAQs and for here and for this section as well. And I just feel like it's a little bit too harsh, a little bit too strong. So I'm gonna just duplicate this and I will show you how I would do this. So probably I would just have a little bit more padding inside of these cards. So I will select all of them and I will adjust the padding in each, but I don't see the padding on the right panel. It is right there. So let me just try to select all of them again. And okay, so now I'm setting the padding, but as you can see, it's only adjusting it on the left, which is quite weird. I think it's because the height is not set to fit content, so I'm gonna try setting it to fit content, but then I also have to set the, so we are using a grid here, so we had to set this height to fit content as well. So now it will nicely appear, so the padding itself will nicely appear around the button, because the card, because I actually think that this could use a little bit more padding, a little bit more breathing room around the edges. So around 30, 34 could work really well. And then I would also simplify this background color. So maybe if you want to have this sort of like gradient type of feel, we can maybe have it, but with a little bit less intensity, like maybe this. So maybe 15% on the transparency, and then also making this border a little bit less intense, something like this. And you can immediately see that, at least in my opinion, it looks a little bit better. And then to make these items here again a little bit better, I will just adjust the size of each one to get a little bit better hierarchy. And yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this icon a little bit smaller on each of them, so the icon can have an aspect ratio look, and I'll just make them smaller, so maybe it can have like 40. And then this title here will also be a little bit smaller, which is a text style here. I'm just gonna quickly remove it here. Usually it's, you know, best practice to use that text style, but I just want to be a little bit quicker here, so I'm gonna just quickly adjust it without the text style. So 24 works great. And then this subtitle type of text can also be a little bit smaller than that, maybe 14. And then to again simplify the colors a bit, what I don't really like is that right now what we have is the title on this primary color, which is this pastel, like, I don't know, yellowish thing, and then the subtitle is a little bit more lighter. It's actually closer to white. And when I look at this looks brighter, and it is a little bit weird because it is not actually the most important text, so this should have been, you know, brighter. So what I would do is I would either flip these or just use maybe a little bit more consistent coloring. So perhaps again flipping them, so this can be light and this can be primary. Or what we can do is we can use primary on both of them, but then drop the opacity on this one. You know, this is also an option. So maybe I'm gonna just do this one here, so both of them will be having the same primary, but on the bottom we're gonna have 0.5 transparency. So I'm gonna set this on all of them really quickly. So 0.5 and primary. And then what I also don't really like is how much space we have between these items. So what I would want to do is have a little bit more space between these block and the icon. And also, right now that I'm adjusting these things, I still feel that these are a little bit too big. So let's make these icons just slightly smaller. And so in order to have these two text layers in a block, we can just select them and set them or add them into a stack with Option Command and Enter. And now within this stack, I can adjust the gap to change the spacing between these two text layers. So it can be maybe around, I don't know, 14 or 12. That looks really nice. I actually think that this is a little bit too much, so maybe 8 is gonna be good. For some reason, this text layer is getting cut off. It's because it's set to width fixed, so I'm gonna set it to fill. This will be set to fill as well. And then here I can just adjust the gap, and now you'll see that we have a little bit more space between the icon and these two text layers. So 16 or something like that. Yeah, I can just do the same thing on each of them. Maybe here I'm just gonna, I don't know, just speed up this part of the video and quickly do it here. So okay, so now as you can see, all of them are adjusted and we can have a little bit more space between them. And I will preview the site and just show you how it looks. So in my opinion, it looks a little bit better here. We have a little bit more breathing room around the edges, more of a subtle color palette compared to this one. So yeah, as you can see, really slight adjustments, but I think this can make a huge difference when, you know, you apply this same styling to the rest of the elements on your website. So yeah, that's it for this site. Let's go into the next one. This is the next website, Mage Space, and actually this person told me that there is a specific issue on the website that they weren't able to fix, which is this little overflow issue right here. So as you can see, as I hover over these tools, this gradient is not getting like rounded around the corners. You can see that it is still like completely sharp. So we can take a look at that. And then one other thing that I noted down here for myself is that we can maybe think about different better words for these CTAs. other than choose a plan. The rest of the site looks pretty cool, so I'm not gonna make any more comments on that one. So let's jump into the Framer project and let's take a look at those tool cards. Maybe I'm not gonna be able to fix them, by the way. So let's just take a look at them. So I'm gonna click into that. I guess because this is really weird, because here you can see it's clearly rounded. So it's not having that overflow issue that we have right here on the live website. I don't know what happened. Right now it looks great. So you can see that I'm gonna leave this in because it is, I think, a great example that sometimes you just don't know what is happening. Framer is also like a tool. It can have little bugs here and there. I don't know if that's a bug or what is this, but I just opened the Framer project and now it is working on the live website. So yeah, again, I just want to suggest you to change the labels on these buttons. Other than, you can probably use something like subscribe, or I don't know, something like that, but choose a plan or choose plan. I don't know, it might not be the best. But yeah, other than this things that I mentioned, I think this is pretty cool. What the hell? It is now having the same not rounded corners on the gradient. Okay, so this is something that I'm probably not gonna be able to fix, because here you can see that this is just a simple like fill color, probably. Is it a fill color? Where is this? Oh, this is a light which has a blur. And that's how we have the effect here. Well, yeah, blur sometimes can have these weird issues where it is basically overflowing slightly. Let me think if there's a way to structure this a bit differently. What I'm thinking is that maybe we could just use like a gradient instead of that blurry element. So I'm gonna just try adding a fill color to this one, probably a radial gradient, and it is going to go to 0, and I'm gonna move it down here, and I'm gonna make it bigger. So something like this. And then here on the top, I'm gonna just set both of the points to 0%. And then here on the hover, it is going to have 100%. And yeah, now I think we're gonna have the same effect, but with a different solution or with a different approach. And we can try publishing this website and comparing it with the live website. So let's take a look at this one. Yes, so as you can see now, this component variant that we adjusted has the rounded corners on the gradient itself, but here on this other one, it is actually overflowing. So it is quite lucky that we were able to find a solution here, because now you can see that in some cases you actually need to take a different approach to creating something, to maybe explore if that solution works better, or it just probably doesn't have an issue like the previous approach. So yeah, in this case we kind of have a similar effect, not the same, but a similar effect, and without the overflow issue. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful. So here we are on the next website, which overall looks really nice. I like the design and I like most things about this. However, there are some things I don't like, and those are just really small details. So first of all, what I thought is that this bill right here is clickable, but it is not clickable. I don't know if that's an issue. I'm just sharing my feedback. I thought that it is clickable. Maybe there's an issue with me, I don't know. That's the first thing. But then when I was looking at this pale a little bit more, I noticed that, oopsie daisy, this space here is larger than this space. So we don't have equal padding around the edges, which makes it look a little bit weird, because here we have a little bit slimmer space compared to this left side. So we can fix that. And then one last thing that I was not a big fan of is this countdown timer that was included on each of the subscriptions. It feels a little bit redundant, and I think we could probably make a little bit different, I don't know, layout where it is only included maybe here on the bottom center, on the top center, I don't know, but it just, I don't know, feels a little bit weird to me that we have it 3 times. And yeah, one more thing, actually, this lemon squeezy logo is not an SVG, and you cannot get away with this. I will notice it. I will see that it is pixelated. Yeah, you can just compare it with this payment text. You can see it's a little bit blurry. So yeah, just get the SVG logos. I know that it takes time to find them, but you have to, you know, take the time and actually find those SVG logos and replace these PNGs with them. So let's jump into the Framer project and quickly fix this left padding. So you can see that on the left we have 8, on the top and on the bottom we have 4, so we have to set 4 there. You can see it's much better, it looks much cooler that way. I don't know what is happening. Okay, so as you can see, it looks much better. Also, just one thing I noticed here, this is draggable. You can see that I can drag this little image here, which is, I guess, not the intended behavior. We can fix this as well by selecting the image. If we can grab it or select it, I just don't know where it is. Hero section, content. So it's probably within the navigation. Yeah, it's right here. It's an image. We can set style, draggable. Where is draggable? Here it is. And we can set it to no. So now it will no longer be draggable. So as you can see, if I drag over it, it is no longer draggable. And I basically can set the same on these other images, which I'm not going to do right now, but you can do it. And yeah, what I wanted to do is just take a look at this right here. It is interesting because you have a little bit different design here with these separated cards, and I'm not sure why I'm not seeing that. Maybe this remix is like a different version of the website. Probably we can just probably remove this one, or just remove this, and maybe have a little bit more space. Oh god, that's not gonna work. Try to remove it and then snap it to the top, paste it in here, group these together in a stack, and then set this to vertical, and then probably set a max width on this so it's not too wide. Or actually, I'm not sure, maybe it's okay if we have this width on that, I'm not sure. But yeah, we can just set them to top alignment and then fit content. Let's remove these here. And yeah, something like this I think looks a little bit better. You know, we can probably play around with the max fit if that's something that is bothering us. But yeah, I think, you know, if we have the same countdown for each of the parsing cards, I think it's better if we are not placing it on each of them separately, having like a redundant layout, and just, you know, simply placing one countdown here in the center. And here we are on the next website. If we scroll down here, the thing that I notice is because I'm on a larger monitor, sections have this width fill, like it's filling up the available space inside of my window, and some of these sections are constrained with a max width. You can see that, for example, here the benefits section also has this max width, but then we reach this part where we again have like a width that is just filling up my window, and yeah, it's just not too consistent in my opinion. I think it would be better if we would have the same max width on all of the sections. So that's one thing. And then one more thing that I'm not sure if you guys notice, but here on this video, or I don't know if that's a component or it is a video, let me just see if maybe it's a GIF or something. No, it's not. Then okay, we're gonna take a look at that. But basically it has a little issue because we not only see a few screens that we can clearly see, but we also have a little screen that is hidden between these screens that you might not see. Let me just record this right here, and we are going to actually see, if we slow down the recording, that we are basically flashing right there. This screen is never visible for longer than, I don't know, 1 frame, but I don't know if you are paying attention to the details, you can see that in some cases the switch looks a little bit different. It looks as if it's like, I don't know, flashing or something like that, and that's because between the switch, so we have screen 1, flash for 1 frame, and then screen 2. And so you can see that this looks like this. So I'm going to take a look at this. Maybe it's a video, maybe it's a component. Let's see if we can fix that. So next website, let's take a look at this. Okay, so this is a component. It has these variants, and on each of these variants we set a different fill color, which is actually an image. But it is really weird because we don't really see that image that I showcased in the video when I slowed it down, so I'm not even sure where it is appearing. Maybe... Okay, so it is not in this component. We don't have any image that looks like that we highlighted by slowing the video down. So we have to come outside and maybe hide this component. And yes, here it is. It is behind the component. So I think what is happening is that as this is changing, you can see that in some cases it takes a little bit more time to load the image. And there is like a little millisecond where we don't see an image, we don't see the previous image, but we're not even seeing the next image. And that's when we actually reveal what is behind this component, which is this little image. So we can just simply remove it, and that's gonna literally solve our little problem. Now we can see that when we are switching between these, there's no flashing. We don't see this other image in the background. Cool, so that was a small thing, but again, really important to take a look at those. And yeah, just the max width, it's very simple to do that. As you can see, you have the max width on these sections, probably somewhere, I don't know where. Yes, for example, on this case studies section, you have this max width. So I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna try adding it to this section as well. So let me just select the about section, add max width, not percentage, but pixels. And then I'm gonna also make sure to add it to this container here, to the footer. And yeah, hopefully it is going to make the overall feel of the website look a little bit better. Here the hero section is still max, or sorry, like filling up the available width inside of my screen, but I think that is fine. In some cases it like looks great to have this effect on the hero section. In fact, Framer University has the same thing here on the hero section. You can see that the text is on the left side. It's trying to fill up the available width, but then everything else is contained inside of a max width. So yeah, I think this is fine right here. But then we have the nice max width applied to the benefits, services, testimonials, and then here to this section, and then to the footer as well. And in my opinion, it looks a little bit better. So here we are on the next website, and one thing I noted down here is actually how this card hover is handled, because I see quite a few issues with it. First of all, when I hover, in some cases I see some flashing. You can see when I hover, now it doesn't, so sometimes it flashes, sometimes it doesn't. Usually it's because you are setting the image fill and you're overriding that across different variants. Instead of that, I usually use opacity, so I create two separate frames, each with different image fills, and I place them on top of each other. One is set to opacity 1, the other one is opacity 0, waiting to come in. And then on the that variant where I want to animate in the new image, I just set the opacity to 1. It's a better solution or approach because then both of these images are loaded right away when we load the website. And so when the opacity is changing to 1 from 0, it will not flash because the image is already loaded. So that is going to be the fix probably for this one. One other thing is that, I don't know, it's really small, but when I hover, you can see that it slightly gets taller. You can see that there is a bit of jumping around. So this section here gets a little bit taller and then smaller when I hover. And then last thing, we have double hover, which is, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Personally, I don't really like it when we have a hover state on the main card and then within we have more hover states, because if I hover over this little yellow color, so I think we're gonna also remove that. But yeah, let's jump into the Framer project and take a look at these little issues. So I'm gonna double click into the card and let's see how this is built. And yes, we can see that we have only one frame for the image, which is called picture. And then it has an image property here, image, which is actually a component variable. And then here it is set to image2. So we are again overriding the fill of the picture frame. Instead of this, what we can do is that we can create another frame within the picture itself. We can set it to absolute positioning, pin it to all sides, and set the image2 component variable on this one. So the image2 will appear here. Here we can just set the opacity to 0, and then the picture will be visible, the first image, so maybe image 1, and then we have the image 2, and here we can just simply set the image 1 back to the image property because that was overridden previously, and then image 2 can just switch itself from opacity 0 to 1. And you're going to see that now we have a little bit of more of a smoother effect. I'm going to try to preview it here, so you can see that now it is actually like fading in and not having like this instant change of images. If you want to have the instant change in images, you can also do that. You have to override the transition property of the image 2. So basically you just select the image 2 here on primary, go to styles on the right panel, add a transition and just set it to instant. And then basically this says that, okay, the image 2 layer needs to be animated instantly. So the opacity change will not be animated across like 1 or 2 seconds, but it is going to be completely instantaneous. So as you can see here, now it's nicely instant. But I actually like that it has sort of like this fade in, fade out effect. So I'm gonna leave it like that. And then the next thing that I want to take a look at is, why is this jumping? Why is this jumping around? Let's take a look at that. Maybe what I'm thinking is that when this appears here, this icon, it pushes it to a little bit larger size. So probably here, this stack frame is 40 pixels height, and then this icon here is probably larger, it is 43. And that's why when it appears inside of that stack, the stack gets a little bit taller because it is set to a width height fit content, so it fits the content within. In this case, it is the text and the icon pushes it a little bit, making it a little bit larger, and that's why we have that little bit of like moving around, jumping around. So to fix that, we can just set the height of this to a little bit different size. So I'm gonna adjust it on the primary because that's how it's gonna update everywhere. So the button here will be set to fixed width and height. I don't know what I'm adjusting, probably not the button is what I need to adjust, but I'm gonna just set it to fixed and then set it to 40 and 40. So now this button is exactly the same height as this stack, and now it will no longer push the card to a larger height. As you can see that now it is perfect, it doesn't have any jumping around, so it's pretty cool. And now, just as a last thing, a last little tweak, I'm gonna remove the hover color on this one because I don't really like it. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it. We have fixed the card. So I'm gonna publish this again just to make sure that we can compare what we had previously and what we have right now. So now you can see on the left, this is what we had before. A little bit of jumping around, flashing on the images. And this is what we have now. No more flashing, the images nicely fade in, and then the cards do not change in height when we hover over them. One extra thing that I noticed here is that when we hover over, this corner radius is being removed, or this image is not having the rounded corners. We can fix that really easily by coming into here, setting the image 1 to overflow hidden. So when this image 2 appears, it will nicely be cut off. And now you can see that when I hover over, it still has the same corner radius. So yeah, that's it for this one. So here we are on the last website of this video, Digital Global Branding Agency. So let's see what they have. I noted down one thing that we see on the projects page. So let's take a look at this detail page here. If I scroll down here, you'll see that these two cards actually go over the navigation here on the top, which is not really good. They should be behind the navigation. So we're going to take a look at that and fix it. And then the pricing page has a different navigation, or not a different navigation, but a little bit, a different version. It's constrained a little bit. It is not filling up the available space. As you can see, if I go back and forth between these two pages, we have a bit of a inconsistency, so we have to fix that as well. So let's jump into the Framer project and quickly make these fixes. It is probably gonna be pretty easy. So works, this is the detail page, and probably we have a z-index here, z-index 1, and on the navigation we have z-index 1, and that's why in some cases it might go over. Really easy fix, just set the z-index to 10 on the navigation, so there's no way that anything will go over it, because the index is the largest value that you can set inside the Framer. So now we can see that those two cards are no longer going over. It is pretty good. Just to see what we had before, this was the index 1 and it was going over. As you can see right here, we're completely hiding the navigation. Again, making sure the index is 10, it is going to keep the navigation on top of everything, since if an element has higher z-index compared to another element, it will result in it being on top of those other lower z-index elements. So that is pretty easy again. And now pricing, here we probably, it has a max width here, so we just need to remove it. And that's it. I'm gonna publish the site, open it here, and then let's take a look. Pricing, who we are, and you can see that we now have a consistent width of navigation. And then as a last look, we can take a look at this project, and we don't really have enough cars there to showcase the effect that we had. Oh my god. Okay, maybe this. Yeah, so now as you can see, as this has more cards here, none of them are going over the navigation. So yeah, that's it for this video. Make sure to leave a comment below if I should do more of these. And yeah, follow me on Twitter, because I usually post these posts on Twitter when I'm doing these roast sessions. So if you want to be in the next part, you can catch one of my posts and then just comment your website, and hopefully you're gonna get selected. And yeah, make sure to check out Framer University for other cool stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.